Bom dia a todas e a todos. Meu nome é Alice e eu faço parte da Secretaria Executiva do Movimento pela Base Nacional Comum. É um prazer estar aqui e é muito inspirador poder ouvir a Marjo e a experiência da Finlândia. Você poderia nos contar um pouco mais como é esse engajamento das famílias na Finlândia, como que isso é incentivado e quais lições isso pode trazer para o Brasil?
That's a crucial and critical question because we consider that the impact that the families can give and the support the families can give to the kids' learning, it's crucial. Actually, we have research-based evidence on that when we see differences in between the performances of our children, so the thing that the first reason for that is the background of the kid and if the home is capable of supporting the learning. And to me, I think it's also whether the family is if the education is valued in the family. So these attitudes, they are reflecting also the attitude of the kids. So there we have a very key question: how to involve the parents. And I don't know how is it with you, but we have had the problem that when we invite for the traditional parents' evening, so the parents that already are supporting and are involved, they come, but those that we'd like to meet we don't reach them. So we have had for some years projects where we have tried to develop new types of cooperation with the parents, to really involve them, to empower them, to give them experience that when they come to school, they don't come to school and hear what bad their kids have done and that she or he has not performed there, but to cooperate with and to discuss and do things together. And I think, well, one advice for Brazilian, I think, would be that to be successful in future, so you should really think how to empower your communities, how to involve them in the school life. The school could be a good center for any environment, any suburb, to promote the well-being of the whole society. But it's not that easy. You have to really meet the parent, meet the people, and give them also the experience that that we are respecting their perspective. You know what happens if a parent comes to a school and you locate them in the classroom to sit in that small desk, so they feel like they are students again and they have all the bad memories probably of their past. So for example, think of other environments. Think how you meet the adults as adults and respect and listen to them and give them space and room to involve also the school life.
É verdade, acho que temos inclusive problemas e desafios comuns, né? Também para trazer os pais para as escolas no Brasil, fazê-los, engajá-los, inspirá-los para participar de uma forma efetiva nas escolas. Então, é importante aprender com outras iniciativas como as da Finlândia. Temos uma pergunta aqui sobre o PISA. Nesse período de mudanças, a Finlândia mudou de posição no PISA. Se você poderia comentar um pouquinho como você vê isso.
I must be honest that, of course, we are proud that we are on the top, but that's not our main target. Our main target is to have good quality education that prepares our children for the future. So we are not redesigning our education to be on the top of the PISA results. And it's always with evaluations, it's always something that you get the result according to what you are evaluating. I'm not criticizing the PISA results, and it has dropped a bit, not that much. Still, we are performing quite well. But to be honest, here also, the change in our environment, it has been so rapid. For example, the number of non-native Finnish speakers in our city, it has been increasing during the past years very rapidly, and the average is something above 20%. But there are schools that more than 50% of kids are non-native Finnish speakers, and the parents may not even know any Finnish, and they are multiplied different languages. It can be 20, 40 different languages. So we are really facing a different environment and different challenges, and we really have to work hard to meet these challenges to be successful also in the future. Not for the PISA, but for our society.
Perfeito. A gente tem muita curiosidade também em saber como escolher nesse processo de reforma curricular o que entra e o que não entra nesse currículo e o que deveria ou não ser oferecido para todos os alunos. Você poderia contar um pouco mais desse processo de inclusão e especialmente de exclusão do que deve estar no currículo e como que esses processos de decisão foram tomados?
Well, that's a big question, and I don't know if we can cover it inclusively, but there's a shift. I think the most important thing is that we have really been rethinking what are the, you can call them 21st century skills, or as we heard from Gonzalo's, he was speaking about this new pedagogy for deep learning, and there are those three C's I know because we are involved in that. But whatever you name or label them, so the main idea there is that instead of split knowledge or information or contents of different subjects, we should concentrate in developing this kind of holistic approach and the competencies. You can call them 21st century competencies. It's quite easy to pick there. And my advice is that you just not copy-paste from some other country, but you look what is your environment, what are the biggest challenges in your environment, and then adjust your competencies according to that. So that you meet the needs that are urgent in your country. But forget, if I had all the power in the world, I would deny all the contents, split contents and isolated knowledge, because that's not something we need for the future. Of course, you have to have understanding of different sciences, but you can do it in the very different way. And if you are concentrating in this holistic approach and holistic competencies, so you will be successful in the future. But one thing I'd like to give you as an advice, because I believe this is quite global, that if you want to be success in the future, so invest on the empowerment of the people, the social skills, and the capacity of collaborate with different people. I think that's something that makes difference. If your society is strong, you can achieve something. But if it's split and polarization, so then it also causes tension, and that's not beneficial for anyone.
Ótimas dicas. No que tange às questões estruturais, por exemplo, da rede física das escolas finlandesas, foi necessário construir novas escolas? Existe um padrão arquitetônico comum ou mínimo? Tem exemplos de outros espaços de aprendizagem, como, por exemplo, a rua? Como que isso é feito, promovido, envolvida a sociedade para isso?
Well, we have not rebuilt any of our schools when we are in the process of redesigning our education. Of course, when we are having new school buildings, we also looking at the architecture and make more open and flexible spaces for the learning. But as I said in my talk, so if we see that the city of Helsinki that I'm coming from, the city is a very good urban learning place. And if we open the doors, if we see the possibilities that are surrounding us, and if we open our minds and remember that learning is not captured, it can't be captured inside the school or the classroom, but learning happens everywhere, and we utilize the multiply options that we are having, museums, theaters, shopping centers, you can learn anywhere. So it's more or less like your mindset than the building. Of course, there are some limits if you are very old-fashioned and very. If it's ugly and not in good condition, of course it has its sides. But I think it's more or less to be innovative as leaders and teachers, and use all the premises that you are having in the school. But then when we do renovate our schools or when we build our new schools, so we really try to make the change there and also to break the classroom walls.
No Brasil, uma grande dificuldade é dar continuidade a uma política pública de educação, pois a cada mudança de governo, as coisas voltam ao começo. Como que na Finlândia isso acontece? Essa política educacional, como fazer para que ela continue, né? Quais são as lições aprendidas que a Finlândia nos aponta para que as políticas públicas educacionais tenham continuidade, apesar das mudanças de governo?
There I must confess that we are very lucky. Actually, I did my PhD thesis for future school and leadership for some years ago, and I studied the strategic papers for education. Every government, they make their own plans for the education, for their governance, and irrespective whether the right or left was on the lead for the education, so the basic values were there. So they are quite very shared, the basic values of the education and the understanding that for the nation to be successful in the future, so we have to invest in education, and that's one of our strengths. So me as an administrator, I don't have to tackle with a kind of balances with the politicians. So we can see there's a big continuum, and it's also that our politicians, they trust us educators and they trust that we have the knowledge and understanding how to develop. Of course, there's politicians. There are some small balances, but the main ideas and the main emphasis has remained unchanged, independent who is on charge.
Aqui tem duas perguntas sobre métodos, né, voltadas mais para a questão das metodologias. Quais são os tipos de materiais didáticos mais utilizados pelos professores e se eles produzem os seus próprios materiais? E houve um pedido também para que você falasse um pouco mais sobre o uso da aprendizagem por fenômenos, né, como método de educação. Como que isso se dá? É possível dar exemplos?
First, I don't know if I mentioned here, but in Finland we are very decentralized. So at the national level, they give us the guidelines for curriculum, and then the decision making is at the local level. And for example, we don't have any recommendation for the books or material used at the classroom. So, for example, again from Helsinki, where I come from, so it's the schools and the teachers that decide what kind of material they are using, and we are supporting them. We are. I mentioned these teachers that develop their own areas of responsibilities. So they, for example, they can prepare some materials or some things that the teachers can develop themselves. So they do both. We use ready-made materials. We have some resources in the web available for our teachers, and teachers do develop their own materials. So it's a mixed picture. And the one thing that, well, it's the private publishers that publish our education material, but they are very involved in the curriculum development, and it's the teachers, those advanced teachers, ready and eager to invest in developing their own area of responsibility, that are making the books, the teaching material. So in that way, we kind of assure that best of the best is on the market, because if the material is not good, no one is paying and buying it, and it's teachers who is doing that. Then about the phenomena-based learning, an example could be a climate change, and the topic. There are two ways of starting a phenomena-based learning. One is that the teachers they are suggesting, or they are kind of making the choice what is the big topic, but or the other way to start it is that you discuss about the phenomena surrounded by you, I mean the pupils, and then the pupils may suggest that what is in our interest. Like I had this very shortly, this example of the smartphone. It was a real example of some 3 or 4 graders that they were discussing together what they are interested in and what they want to study, and they came up with that mobile smartphone. They want to study it. So you can choose one of these approaches, but then just in the very beginning, you involve the pupils in the planning process. And that means that it's the pupils that they are setting the questions, what they are interested in, what they want to know more about that. And one of the stages we heard that that's something that motivates the pupils, and they get hooked to the learning because it's something that they're interested in, not something that the teacher tells them to do. And then the task of the teacher or the group of the teacher is to look from the curriculum that what are the objectives and what are the skills, also this we call the transformal skills for the competencies for the future, that they will be practicing or training during this period. And then you can't leave the kids alone. As a teacher, it's very demanding to build up the learning process where you don't have the ready-made concept or ready-made page of the book that you are studying, but you are supervising, coaching and scaffolding the learning process. And the task of the teachers is to ensure that, for example, if it's a climate change, so the pupils, they understand the concepts, they understand the key concept of that phenomenon. So you can't let them just be alone. But I think we are underestimating our kids and their capacity of finding out the right concept. But it's kind of follow-up, scaffolding the learning process, and then they are collecting the data, they are making the remarks and questions, and in the end, they are also involved in the evaluation process. They are evaluating the whole process, they are giving feedback to their peers and also evaluating what they have gained, what they have learned, and also giving feedback to the teachers. So the whole process is very, very student-centered, and it begins with real questions of the real life. And in that way, to our experience, when the pupils they understand the connections in between what they are learning and the real life, so they are motivated, they remember, they don't forget it. When I was a kid and I had a chemistry test, so I read like crazy for the past 2 nights, and then I went to the test and then I wrote down everything. I felt like a tin pack that I just pour all my knowledge to the paper, and then when I gave it back, I was thinking, was it really me who wrote this down? Because I just memorized by heart. So that's something we try to grab. But it's not that easy. I promise that I can link you to the website where you can see practical examples how they are doing it in practice.
Seria maravilhoso, e a gente compartilha com todos esse link também desse website. Infelizmente, a gente vai ter que se encaminhar para a última pergunta, porque nós só temos mais 2 minutos. E é uma pergunta sobre formação continuada de professores. A dúvida é como que ela acontece, qual é o foco e como ela acontece no país todo.
Well, as I said, we are very centralized. So we have something, and actually there's a law that every education provider has to give continuum or in-service education to each teacher. So kind of depending on the of the administrators and how big or small they are. So it's either us, the education providers, that we provide the in-service training for the teachers, or it can be the universities. The Ministry of Education has allocated some money, and then there's also a private sector. So it's a mixture. And how it happens, it's up to the local authorities. But what we do in Helsinki is that there are certain topics that we want to kind of promote. And for those, our teachers, they get free from their teaching job practices, and they have a substitute at the school, and then they can concentrate on the training programs. And I believe that sometimes it's good just to have 1 or 2 sessions, but this kind of long-term training is more effective. And then we have also legislation that there are 3 days a year that a teacher has to attend in the developmental work or in service training, besides the teaching.
Marjo, isso é muito interessante. Nós te agradecemos muito por essas inspirações e essas informações que são muito inspiradoras e importantes para o processo brasileiro. Gostaríamos de te agradecer muito por estar aqui conosco. De tarde teremos mais uma conversa. E agradecer a todos que participaram e estiveram aqui conosco nessa mesa. Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much.